Elon Musk wasn't ready for this. In 2025, Toyota quietly dropped an electric SUV priced so low it left Tesla scrambling, and Elon looking shaken on live TV. No warning, no marketing, just pure engineering chaos. Toyota has never been the flashy disruptor. While Tesla dominated headlines with its high-end electric cars, Toyota was quietly perfecting the art of cost-efficient EV production. They didn't just match Tesla, they undercut it by 70%. Now the industry is reeling, politicians are reacting, and consumers are lining up for a piece of history. So, what's next? Will Tesla survive this brutal price war? Will gas-powered cars finally become obsolete? Stick with us as we break down how this unprecedented move could redefine electric vehicles forever. The $13,000 bombshell. The Shanghai Motor Show was buzzing. Industry insiders and journalists crowded around the stage, waiting for Toyota's latest announcement. Then the screen flickered on, displaying the number, $13,000. Gasps echoed through the hall. Was it a mistake? Had Toyota really managed to price a fully electric SUV so low? Social media exploded. Hashtags like #Toyota price shock and EV revolution began trending within minutes. Elon Musk, usually quick to boast about Tesla's achievements, tweeted a single word: impossible. It was not just a product announcement, it was an economic bombshell. Even President Trump, known for promoting American-made innovations, was taken aback, issuing a statement urging U.S. manufacturers to respond. The comparisons began immediately. Analysts and car enthusiasts alike placed the Toyota SUV side by side with the Tesla Model Y. While Tesla's model was sleek and packed with cutting-edge features, it also cost nearly 4 times as much. How could Toyota undercut Tesla's price by 70%? People needed answers. Dealerships from Guangzhou to Raleigh reported a surge of inquiries. Prospective buyers lined up, hoping to be among the first to place orders. For many, this was the moment they had been waiting for. A high-quality electric vehicle they could actually afford. With the world now on notice, Toyota's inner circle knew the stakes had just gotten higher. They had caught the industry off guard. But making headlines was one thing, delivering on the promise was another. They needed to ensure that production could keep up with the demand that was about to explode inside the war room. In the early hours of the morning, a video conference connected Toyota HQ, GIC Guangzhou's offices, and logistics teams scattered across North America. Koji Sato, the calm and calculated head of Toyota's strategic planning, adjusted his headset and began the meeting. On one screen, Raj Patel, the head of supply chain management, outlined the logistical challenge of moving battery components from China to North American assembly lines. One crucial factor loomed large: tariffs. President Trump had made it clear that he would not tolerate American automakers being undercut by foreign imports. Raj expressed his concerns, but Koji remained composed. Mark Carney, Canada's Prime Minister, had recently advocated for balanced trade policies, emphasizing the need for affordable green technology. Toyota's leadership knew they would need Carney's diplomatic skills if they were to navigate the political minefield. The conversation turned to chemistry, specifically the debate over cobalt versus iron phosphate batteries. Cobalt was efficient but costly and politically controversial. Iron phosphate was cheaper, more stable, but offered slightly less range. A heated debate ensued, but when the final cost models flashed on the screen, the numbers were clear. Iron phosphate was the only viable option. Everyone knew the risk. Thousands of jobs were at stake, not just in Japan, but also in North America. Canadian suppliers, hopeful that Carney's policies would support green innovation, held their breath. One senior engineer, usually stoic, admitted that the project felt like walking a tightrope between innovation and collapse. Armed with a plan, the engineers returned to the factory floor. Spreadsheets would not make the car. Precision and efficiency would. They had the blueprint. Now they needed to bring it to life. Engineering the unthinkable. The vast assembly plant hummed with activity. Conveyor belts moved like clockwork, and robotic arms darted with practiced precision. Toyota had done it before, perfecting production methods through decades of lean manufacturing. But this was different. Retooling for a low-cost electric vehicle required not just precision, but also creativity. New stamping presses had been installed to handle lightweight alloy panels. Modular battery packs were being assembled with iron phosphate cells, wired through simplified harness systems to reduce labor costs. It was a dance of automation and human oversight. A veteran line supervisor, known for his gruff demeanor, watched as the first prototype rolled off the line. He wiped his eyes. "Never thought I'd see it," he whispered. "A car that good for a price that low." He was not alone in his disbelief. Workers paused to take in the moment, a machine they had built, against the odds. Originally, Toyota had estimated a per-unit cost of $28,000, but through meticulous re-engineering and cost-cutting, they had brought it down to $13,000. It was nothing short of a miracle. Data had guided the process, but in the end, it was the relentless pursuit of efficiency that made it possible. With the first units complete, Toyota faced the ultimate challenge, convincing a skeptical market. The reveal had stirred excitement, but public trust would be built not just on promises, but on proven reliability. They had made the car affordable. Now they needed to make it indispensable. David's sling meets enemy armor. It was supposed to be just another routine product launch for Toyota, but within hours, the entire automotive world was in turmoil. Elon Musk, known for his bravado and unwavering confidence, appeared on a live broadcast looking unusually somber. His hand rested on his chest as he spoke, his voice almost cracking. "We didn't see it coming," he admitted. On Wall Street, Tesla's stock nosedived by over 12%. Analysts scrambled to make sense of it all. The consensus was clear. Toyota's low-cost electric SUV had blindsided the market. In response, President Trump took to social media, calling it a wake-up call for American automakers. He promised swift action, including tariffs on Chinese-manufactured components to protect U.S. jobs. Meanwhile, Toyota's marketing team capitalized on the momentum. They unveiled a new slogan, "Accessible Greatness." It was a subtle jab at Tesla's luxury branding, implying that high-quality electric vehicles did not have to be out of reach for the average consumer. The message resonated, and suddenly Toyota's sleek, affordable SUV became more than just a car. It became a symbol of breaking barriers. In Detroit, reporters hit the streets, gathering opinions from workers at the Ford assembly plant. Some voiced loyalty to American brands, but others admitted they would consider switching. The affordability argument was hard to resist. One factory worker summed it up: "If I can get an electric SUV for $13,000, why wouldn't I?" We've done the deep dive, connecting all the dots to show you how Toyota's game-changing EV is reshaping the entire industry. If you're finding this breakdown valuable and want to stay ahead as the story unfolds, consider subscribing. Your support helps us keep delivering insights that matter. Despite all of this, Tesla was not giving up. As Musk retreated to Silicon Valley to devise a plan, Toyota knew the battle had just begun. The industry was watching, and Tesla's next move could either stabilize the market or escalate the chaos. Forging the low-cost alliance, Raj Patel barely slept. As the head of supply chain logistics, he had been working non-stop since the announcement. In his office, papers were stacked high, but his eyes were fixed on the screen. A single line blinked. Agreement finalized. He exhaled. The partnership with GAC Guangzhou had been a risk start. Integrating two vastly different manufacturing philosophies was never easy. Japanese precision met Chinese scalability, and somehow it worked. At the heart of it all was the final GAC agreement, signed late at night by Yoshida-san, Toyota's lead negotiator. Logistics was the next hurdle. Parts would be shipped from Wuhan to Toyota's production facility in Kyushu, before heading to North American distribution hubs. Raj coordinated with teams in Canada and the United States to ensure smooth transitions. One misstep could cause delays, and with President Trump hinting at new tariffs, every shipment had to be meticulously documented to avoid unexpected costs. But the real victory lay in cost management. Economies of scale and shared tooling had driven down the per-battery cost by 40%. Instead of seeing the project as a simple manufacturing challenge, Toyota approached it as a global logistics puzzle, optimizing every link in the chain. When the first shipment cleared customs without issue, Raj allowed himself a rare moment of relief. The supply chain was holding strong. Now Toyota needed the chemistry to match the production speed. Battery alchemy. In a dimly lit lab, a group of engineers gathered around a prototype battery pack. The test had been running for 8 hours under sub-zero conditions. A technician whispered, "This is it," when the screen flashed green, confirming consistent voltage. Cheers erupted. The new lithium iron phosphate cells had passed the Wisconsin winter trials. Developing a low-cost battery that could endure harsh conditions was no small feat. The choice to move away from traditional cobalt-based lithium-ion batteries was as much an ethical decision as it was practical. Cobalt mining had faced increasing scrutiny for human rights violations, and Toyota wanted no part of it. Lithium iron phosphate offered a more stable, affordable, and morally sound alternative. Chemically, the LFP batteries were less energy dense, but significantly more resilient. They offered a longer life cycle, and were less prone to overheating. During internal tests, the cells consistently delivered a range of 300 kilometers, putting them on par with more expensive lithium-ion configurations. Carney's government praised the move, aligning it with Canada's push for sustainable innovation. Environmental activists applauded Toyota for prioritizing ethical sourcing, while analysts noted that reducing reliance on rare minerals could stabilize long-term production costs. With the battery chemistry now proven, Toyota had cleared another critical hurdle. Production could now proceed without the fear of compromised safety or performance. The real-world tests had been a gamble, but the data was solid. Next, the focus would shift to manufacturing at scale, maintaining the balance between quality and speed. Mass production mastery. At Toyota's Kentucky plant, the transformation was in full swing. What had once been a production line for gas-powered SUVs was now being retrofitted for electric vehicle assembly. New robots, equipped with precision welding tools, worked seamlessly alongside veteran technicians. The move to EV production was not just a technological overhaul, it was a cultural one. Factory workers were being retrained to handle the intricacies of battery installation and electric drive system calibration. During the initial phases, there were setbacks, misaligned panels, and software bugs. But Toyota's just-in-time logistics and multi-skilled work cells allowed rapid problem-solving. At the plant's core was an AI-driven quality control system, scanning each assembled vehicle for imperfections. Any variance beyond the acceptable range triggered an immediate inspection. The speed and accuracy were unlike anything the workers had seen. One technician joked that the robots had sharper eyes than any human. Economic shifts were already visible. Under Mark Carney's policies, Canada's auto industry was experiencing a renaissance, with Toyota's suppliers thriving. Meanwhile, in the United States, debates raged about the impact of Chinese partnerships. Trump's advisors warned of a potential tariff hike, but Toyota had already preempted some of the risks by diversifying part sourcing within North America. Production was ramping up faster than expected, 50,000 units in the first quarter, 150,000 by mid-year, and a projected 200,000 by the year's end. Efficiency was the new mantra. The combination of streamlined processes and AI oversight kept the pace without sacrificing quality. The battle was no longer just about pricing. It had become a fight for production dominance, and Toyota's manufacturing prowess was proving to be the deciding factor. The automotive industry, once rigid in its traditional ways, was now being forced to adapt or be left behind. Elon's Live TV shock. The atmosphere in San Francisco was electric. Elon Musk was set to take the stage, expected to unveil yet another cutting-edge innovation. Instead, as he approached the podium, his usual confident stride seemed slower, his face tense. The live broadcast cut to his expression, and the world watched as the unthinkable unfolded. Musk's voice, usually commanding, was uncharacteristically strained. He started with a shaky, almost whispered admission. "I can't fight a war I didn't see coming." Silence filled the room. Reporters whispered, exchanging glances. Musk continued, explaining how Tesla had underestimated the impact of Toyota's new pricing strategy. The audience watched as his composure cracked, tears welling in his eyes. "We thought we were prepared," he said, his voice breaking, "but this changes everything." Within minutes, news channels lit up with headlines. Tesla CEO shocked by Toyota's bold move. Elon Musk's emotional confession. Financial analysts scrambled to understand the gravity of the situation as Tesla's stock cratered, losing billions in value. On Trump TV, pundits debated the national security implications of allowing foreign automakers to undercut domestic brands. The conversation was no longer just about cars, it was about American pride. Inside Tesla's headquarters, employees were equally stunned. An internal memo from Musk leaked, revealing his frustration. "We had the future in our hands, and now it's slipping away." Investors began questioning Tesla's long-term strategy. Musk's image as an indomitable innovator had taken a massive hit. As the news spread, political ripples began to reach Washington, and lawmakers started drafting responses. It was no longer just a corporate battle. It had become a political firestorm. Political firestorms. The Senate hearing room was filled to capacity, buzzing with energy as lawmakers prepared to question Toyota executives and Tesla representatives. The room hushed as Senator Mitchell began, addressing the elephant in the room. "How did we let this happen?" Toyota's lead representative took the stand, calmly explaining the company's commitment to innovation and affordability. "We believe that sustainable transportation should be accessible to all," he stated, but the room remained tense. President Trump, adamant about protecting American jobs, had already signaled his intent to introduce tariffs on Chinese-manufactured components. He labeled the situation a crisis, vowing to level the playing field for U.S. automakers. Meanwhile, Mark Carney, Canada's pragmatic prime minister, took a different stance. Speaking from Ottawa, he emphasized the importance of global cooperation in the green transition. "We can't let fear dictate policy," Carney argued, highlighting how Canada's auto sector was thriving thanks to cross-border trade agreements and shared innovation. As the hearing continued, industry lobbyists quietly circulated memos, urging lawmakers to focus on long-term competitiveness rather than punitive measures. General Motors and Ford, wary of Tesla's dominance, subtly voiced support for Toyota's aggressive pricing. Their goal was simple: force Tesla to compete on more practical terms rather than luxury branding. Across the Atlantic, European regulators were not idle either. Concerns about Toyota's partnership with GAC Guangzhou sparked demands for transparency, particularly regarding labor practices and environmental standards. Germany's automotive lobbyists pressured their government to increase subsidies for domestic EV production. While politicians argued, Tesla's legal team drafted a counter-proposal, appealing to the Trump administration for temporary relief from new tariffs, arguing that Tesla's American manufacturing footprint warranted special consideration. As the hearing wrapped up, one thing was clear: the fight had moved beyond the showroom and into the halls of power. Tesla's desperate gambits. Inside Tesla's headquarters, tension was at an all-time high. In the executive conference room, Musk sat at the head of the table, staring at a whiteboard covered in ideas. "We need options," he demanded. His top strategists hesitated, uncertain how to salvage the situation. One of the proposals on the table was the Model A, an affordable, stripped-down version of Tesla's lineup. But launching a new model would take time, and the financial projections looked grim. Slashing prices on existing models could work temporarily, but it would erode profit margins to unsustainable levels. Another option was to lean harder into the premium market, doubling down on luxury EVs, while conceding the budget segment to Toyota. As debates raged on, a leaked internal email chain surfaced, showing Tesla executives candidly discussing their dire predicament. One vice president bluntly stated, "We can't afford to bleed out like this." The candid admission made headlines, shaking investor confidence even further. Musk finally broke the stalemate, announcing a two-pronged approach. First, Tesla would introduce temporary price cuts on select models to retain market share. Simultaneously, they would accelerate development of the Model A, aiming for a release within 18 months. The decision was a gamble, balancing immediate financial strain with the hope of future recovery. Even as plans solidified, other automakers were moving fast. Tesla's hesitation left a vacuum, and competitors were more than ready to fill it. Musk knew that even a well-executed plan might not be enough if the industry continued to shift under his feet. The multi-front battlefield. Worldwide, automakers were taking note of Tesla's weakened stance. In China, BYD's CEO smiled knowingly at the unfolding chaos. "They're vulnerable," he told his team. Within days, BYD announced an ultra-affordable electric hatchback priced under $10,000. Their strategy was simple: seize the budget market before Tesla could regroup. In Europe, Volkswagen's board authorized immediate price cuts on their entry-level EVs. A spokesperson declared, "Affordability should not compromise quality. We are making electric mobility accessible." Ford announced plans to retool its assembly lines to focus on smaller, more efficient models, while Hyundai unveiled a rebate program designed specifically for North American buyers. In Canada, Carney's administration encouraged automakers to invest more in green technology, offering grants to companies willing to innovate. GM responded by launching a campaign promoting American-made electric cars, leveraging a sense of national pride to maintain consumer loyalty. Consumers, sensing an unprecedented opportunity, began flocking to dealerships. In cities like Toronto and Detroit, Toyota's new SUV was flying off the lot. Meanwhile, Tesla showrooms reported dwindling foot traffic as buyers waited to see how Musk would respond. Market analysts offered cautious optimism, predicting that the shift toward affordable electric vehicles could stabilize as companies adapted. Yet the message was clear: the industry was undergoing a transformation. Tesla's dominance was not guaranteed, and the fight for the future of electric mobility had just begun. Consumers' sweet victory. In Toronto, Samuel, an Uber driver, leaned back in his newly acquired Toyota EV. He had just finished his last ride of the night, and his earnings dashboard flashed with numbers higher than he had seen in months. With fuel costs virtually eliminated and maintenance reduced to occasional tire rotations, his take-home pay had doubled. Samuel was not alone. Across the continent, ride-sharing drivers were embracing Toyota's affordable electric SUV. The appeal was obvious: a reliable, spacious, and cost-efficient vehicle that didn't drain their wallets. Online forums buzzed with stories of drivers like Samuel, who could now pocket significantly more every week. Families, too, were seeing the benefits. In a Texas suburb, the Alvarez family was celebrating their new purchase. Jessica, the mother of 3, marveled at how quiet the car was, while her husband, Carlos, couldn't get over the zero fuel expenses. "It feels like we've been liberated from gas prices," he said, calculating how much they would save over 5 years. The shift was unmistakable. For the first time, owning an electric vehicle wasn't a luxury. It was common sense. Toyota's aggressive pricing had shattered the notion that electric cars were only for the wealthy or environmentally conscious. The impact reached beyond urban centers, as rural communities, too, embraced the opportunity to reduce their transportation costs. EV ownership comes with its own complications. Charging infrastructure had not kept pace with the spike in demand. In some areas, drivers found themselves waiting in long lines at public chargers, frustrated that their newfound freedom was still limited by infrastructure bottlenecks. Nevertheless, as Samuel pulled into his driveway, he couldn't help but smile. The future felt more secure. For him and countless others, the shift to electric was not just a trend, it was a new way of life. The charging race. As electric vehicles became more common, charging infrastructure struggled to keep up. What once seemed futuristic quickly became essential. In cities like New York, former gas stations transformed into bustling EV hubs, complete with multiple charging ports and cafes for drivers to wait. This surge in EV ownership exposed serious challenges. In some places, drivers faced long lines at chargers, venting their frustrations online. One post summed it up: "It's great having an EV, until you're stuck waiting an hour to charge." To tackle the problem, both governments and private companies stepped in. Tesla announced it would open its supercharger network to all EVs, while Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney introduced subsidies for businesses willing to install public chargers. Retailers like Walmart and Costco began adding fast chargers to their parking lots, drawing customers as they shopped. New players like Charge Now introduced mobile charging vans to reduce wait times, especially in dense urban areas. Cities that adapted quickly thrived, while those that hesitated risked falling behind. The EV transition was no longer just about cars, it was about reshaping how energy was delivered. Policy overhaul and cultural shift. In the United States, President Trump pushed hard for tariffs aimed at protecting American EV manufacturers from foreign competition. His administration emphasized American-made first policies, asserting that allowing cheaper foreign-made EVs would cripple domestic companies still scaling production. These measures sparked debate, with supporters praising the defense of American manufacturing, while critics warned of potential trade wars that could backfire on the economy. On the international stage, Mark Carney took a different stance. Speaking at the United Nations Climate Summit, Carney cautioned that isolating trade under protectionist policies would hinder global climate progress. He argued that international cooperation was essential for advancing automotive technologies, emphasizing that economic isolation could slow down the development of sustainable solutions. Carney's message was clear: protecting local economies shouldn't come at the cost of global environmental progress. Lawmakers in Washington, caught between these opposing philosophies, debated new tax codes to support EV infrastructure rather than just EV ownership, grants for rural charging stations, rebates for home installations, and increased funding for faster battery research became central to legislative discussions. The goal was clear: make EV adoption feasible for both urban and rural Americans. In rural areas where internal combustion engines still dominated, creating a reliable charging network was essential for EV uptake. Across the Atlantic, Europe faced similar pressures. Automakers in Germany and France called for subsidies to counter Toyota's low-cost EV strategy, fearing that without government support, they would fall behind in the competitive EV market. Policymakers hesitated, balancing the need to support domestic industries with the imperative to promote sustainable innovation. As Toyota's affordable EVs gained traction, European carmakers struggled to keep pace without significant government backing. Amid this policy evolution, car culture itself transformed. Traditional gas stations began to fade, replaced by EV lounges, modern hubs featuring charging ports, high-speed Wi-Fi, and cafes. Oil companies, sensing the shift, started investing in high-speed charging infrastructure to remain relevant. Major brands like Shell and BP launched urban EV hubs, marketing them as vibrant social spaces rather than mere refueling points. This shift not only attracted a younger, eco-conscious demographic, but also reflected a broader cultural transition towards sustainability. Drivers, too, adapted to the new normal. Owning a car became less about power and more about connectivity and environmental responsibility. Subscription models emerged, allowing drivers to switch between different EV types based on their needs. The concept of car ownership itself evolved, reflecting a desire for flexibility, sustainability, and seamless integration into modern life. As charging hubs proliferated and gas stations disappeared, it became clear that gasoline's dominance was waning. Cities transformed as EV-friendly infrastructure grew, and traditional automakers raced to modernize their image. The electric era wasn't just arriving, it was already here, reshaping car culture from the ground up. Did this shift surprise you? Will EVs dominate, or does gas still have a chance? Share your thoughts, like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.